Looking to invest? Start your journey by exploring exchange-traded funds with Global X ETFs. Exchange-traded funds, or ETFs for short, create baskets of stocks, bonds, and other assets that you can buy in a single trade. Global X specializes in ETFs that track emerging trends, like the rise of artificial intelligence, as well as strategies aimed to generate income potential. Visit globalxetfs.com to discover how you can get started.
This is More Money with economist Steve Moore. Now, Steve Moore.
Welcome back, folks. This is the More Money Show on WABC. Great callers, as always. That's why I love to take your calls, because I always say we have the smartest listening audience. And, you know, just those of us who are just normal Americans sort of get how to fix our country better than the elected politicians. And so thank you all for calling in. We'll take your calls again next weekend. But for now, I want to bring on my friend and someone I've admired for so long, Miranda Divine. You all know her from the New York Post. I'm sure you all read her amazing columns. She is the author of a new book called The Big Guy, about the Hunter Biden scandal. There's nobody who has been on top of that story more than Miranda. Miranda, thanks for joining. I wanted to first ask you about something I just heard from one of my previous guests, and I want to know if you know anything about this, Miranda, but I was told, and I don't know if this is just a rumor or whether it's fact, that basically Joe Biden was basically not able to chair the cabinet meeting, and that his wife, who was not elected by anybody, was running the cabinet meeting. I don't know. Have you heard about that? Do you know anything about that story?
Yes. Thanks for having me, Steve. Yes. I mean, there's video of this extraordinary moment when Joe Biden, looking extremely tired and talking in that sort of lugubrious way that he has now,
right,
announces to the cabinet, the first cabinet meeting he's had in 11 months.
Right.
He announces to them that his wife, the First Lady Jill Biden, has graced them with her presence, and that she's going to deliver a little statement about policies that are close to her heart, something to do with women's issues, women's health issues, I think. And so she is sitting at the head of the table.
Wow.
She has the CIA director, William Burns, to her left, and I think it's the UN ambassador to her right. And, you know, they're the whole table full of the cabinet members, and Joe Biden in the middle looking vacant. And then she sits there and is reading from a folder that is like an official White House, you know, I don't know, very important business folder. And she reads this just nonsense. And then at the end of it, everybody claps, except Joe Biden, who's sitting there in the middle of the table looking a bit bemused. Like, what?
So you're saying, hold on, you're saying this is on tape?
Yeah, it's on tape.
Oh, I have to look that up. I had not seen it. You know, that's kind of frightening. I mean, it is frightening on so many levels, Miranda, and you follow Joe Biden and what he's been up to. But here's the thing that concerns me. And it affects this election. I mean, Kamala Harris lied to the American people. She told us for months and months and months, don't worry, Joe Biden is of sound mind. He can run for re-election. You know, he doesn't have I don't see any signs of dementia. I mean, she was lying to us.
She was. And there is nobody apart from Jill Biden and probably Hunter Biden who knows better the state of Joe Biden's cognitive health. Because she was having these regular, I mean, at the beginning of his presidency, he said they were going to have lunch every week. I think that dropped off a bit, but they were having regular lunches. She was the last person in the room. She has boasted about that. He's talked about it for every single one of his disastrous policy decisions. She knew exactly what was wrong with him. We even saw in public when he would stand up and do one of his periodic sort of brain fades in public behind the microphone, and she would be standing behind him, you know, hands clasped in front of her like a good little schoolgirl, just pretending that everything was quite fine, like everybody in his cabinet. But she is the worst because she had the most access to him. Her office is down the hall. There's no way that she wasn't fully aware of the scam that was being pulled on the American people. And now we have a constitutional crisis because we have a president who is incapable of doing anything. And, you know,
it's scary.
They made it clear in the Democratic Party when they said he can't run for re-election.
Yes. So here's the thing, Miranda. I mean, you're making some very important points, folks. And this is a constitutional crisis. And I'm not one for hyperbole, but this is a scary moment. I mean, what happens if we have a national security crisis, and we have several flaring up around the world? We have a president who's mentally enfeebled right now, and I don't know if that means we have to invoke. What is it, the 22nd Amendment? I forget which one it is. But the other thing I want to say, Miranda, and since you follow the Bidens so closely, your reaction to this, I think her whole plan, until it blew up during the debate with Trump, she wanted him to be reelected so she could be the acting president for 4 years.
Yes, because it was obvious to everybody that he was never going to make it through another 4 years. He could barely make it through the election campaign.
Exactly. Right.
And so at some point, he was going to retire or be pushed out for health reasons, and she would step up, as she always has, to just be appointed to a position rather than be elected, because she's so loathsomely disliked because of her vacuous statements, her Liberty Gibbet sort of demeanor, and just her general unlikable.
Well, remember, she requires everyone to call her Dr. Dr. Jill or Dr. Biden, because she has a PhD in something, but that's pretty arrogant.
Oh, that's Dr. Jill. Yeah, she hasn't even got a PhD. I think it's an educational doctorate or something from the community college. Yeah. And I mean, if you've read her thesis, as I have, it's really a very esteemed word to use for a pile of 10th grade garbage. Right. And the reason I say 10th grade is because I actually put it through AI, through ChatGPT, and asked for an assessment of the language skills, what level, and they said 10th grade.
Wow. So here's the thing. This is why this is important. One is because he still is the president for at least 90 more days, maybe more than that. I haven't counted, but that's a pretty scary thing, folks. We have a president who's just not there mentally. And then second of all, I'm very, because look, the Bidens are yesterday, right? They're gone in 90 days, one way or the other. But the fact that we have the major presidential candidate of the Democratic Party who lied through her teeth, why should we believe one word this woman says?
Well, I mean, she lies about everything. She's lying currently about her policy positions that she enunciated very clearly in the 2020 campaign, when she thought she had a chance of being president and dropped out with just like a disastrous, I think, below 1% approval. And, she has really far left positions on everything from energy to illegal migration to health policy, you name it. She takes the very far left of the Democratic Party, and now she's pretending she's a moderate. It's just uncanny. That is the biggest lie. She is a walking lie.
Well, I've had a conversation with Sean Hannity the other day, and he was saying he said this on the air, that most Americans don't even know most people don't know that she was for reparations. Most people don't know that she was for the Green New Deal. Most people don't know she had the most liberal voting record in the United States Senate, even to the left of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And they don't know that, Miranda, because the media won't report it. Yeah,
it's an absolute travesty what the media has become. Just basically cheerleaders for the Democratic Party and anti-Trump derangement people. We saw that in 2020 when, they buried the laptop from hell, our stories that were detrimental to Joe Biden and showed that he was corrupt. That was a rip-roaring story. And I can tell you at the New York Post, it wouldn't have mattered whether it was a Republican or a Democrat. That story was fantastic, and we would have run it any day of the week. Yeah. But the other media, no, they've lost the curiosity and the normal journalistic instinct that you have for a great story, and that's been taken over by propaganda. So, and I'll just say there's 121 days. I just looked it up.
121 days till, I was underestimating how many days he's up. Okay, so that brings me, and I apologize, we only have 2 or 3 minutes left, but I wanted in that final couple of minutes, if you could tell us about your new book. The Big Guy.
Yes, Steve. It's called The Big Guy, and it's out on Tuesday. And it's the sequel to my first book, Laptop from Hell, which was about that Biden family influence peddling, and a lot of it taken from the laptop that Hunter Biden, the president's son, abandoned at a laptop repair shop. But that was in itself an incomplete record, and it took a lot of whistleblowers, people like Tony Bobolinsky and Devon Archer, Hunter Biden's former business partners, to flesh it out. And then, of course, the Republicans in the House, when they took over after the 2022 midterms, did a great job of using their subpoena power to uncover a whole lot of the financial money trail, basically from China, Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Romania, through to Biden family coffers, tens of millions of dollars. But this book is actually about the cover-up, which I think is a bigger story than the corruption story, which is bad and, which would suggest that we have a compromised president in the White House who's soft on China, has unwound a lot of Trump-era sort of China things to sort of hold China in check because his family earned millions of dollars from China. So you can assume that he's compromised. But more than that, I think, even more important is the fact that these national security agencies, the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ, the IRS, the State Department, they all colluded to cover up the shenanigans, the misdeeds, the crimes, the corruption of the Biden family as Hunter Biden and his uncle Jim Biden, Joe's younger brother, ricocheted around the world, basically selling Joe Biden's power and influence when he was vice president.
Amazing. Well, Miranda, great having you on the show. The book is called The Big Guy. It is out next week. One of the top political reporters in America from the New York Post. Miranda, thanks for joining, folks. We'll be right back. This is the More Money Show on WABC.
America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. By honoring your sacred vocation of nursing, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. At Grand Canyon University, our online RN to BSN, MSN, or DNP degree programs allow you to balance online coursework with local in-person clinical, practicum, or immersion hours. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.